any potential buyers of Raheem Sterling this summer, Mr. Martin Keown? What do you think they're looking at? Are they getting the Manchester City Raheem Sterling or the England Raheem Sterling? He seems to shine for England, but stop-start with City. Would that be right?
It is a little bit stop-start with City. I think him and Pep maybe don't quite see eye to eye. The role he has got now within the team, when you see the progression of Foden particularly, Mahrez on the right, so it's been limited, the number of starts he's had this season. So I think it's just a player that naturally wants to play more football. And if he doesn't get that, and I think that has to be a good thing here, Jim. He's not someone who wants to sit around, take the money, as you know, people want to talk about money all the time at the moment in sport, but he wants to play. And there is something in that. So let's just see. If Man City pick him, then he'll stay. But it does feel like now maybe there will be some changes at City along the line here.
I'm sure there will be. I mean, Simon, it's fair to say, is it not? You haven't been altogether complimentary about Raheem over months gone by. You've locked horns with certainly like Trevor Sinclair almost inevitably about whether or not Raheem is world class.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that's not being complimentary. I think it's just being balanced and factual. I don't think he's a world-class player. I think he's a very good player. Otherwise, he wouldn't play for his country and he wouldn't be playing for Man City, and Liverpool wouldn't have been so desperate to have kept him before he moved to Man City. So he's clearly a good player. But when the argument's being advanced by Trevor that it's just a one-dimensional perspective, he's world-class in the discussion, that's where you get the pushback. I don't know where he goes now. I mean, clearly he's been in this situation. Which is the better side, England or Manchester City? Manchester City's the better side. So he doesn't occupy a huge amount of precedence. 23 out of the 38 games he was played in this season. But there's an argument that suggests, or a statistic that says that he doesn't play in some of the bigger games, and that leads you to a conclusion that Pep may not fancy him as much as he would like him to or as much as Raheem Sterling would want to be fancied.
He's a big stage player, though, is he not? Big occasion player.
I'm not. I mean, I think he's one of those players that there is this narrative that's underpinning the. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's anywhere near as good as people somehow advance him to be. I think he did a good job in the Euros last year, but I don't think that him leaving Man City is going to derail Man City.
I think it's a bit unfair in recent times. I think the second half of his England career, I think he had maybe 2-3 goals after 43 appearances, and since then he's really gone to another level. I think we're looking at a different player now. I do feel that the pace that he brings is outstanding. The way that he threatens the back of defenders in a different way to what we've got really with any other player. If you look at what's gone on with England, I do feel there's a falling out with Pep, and Pep does seem to fall out of love with players, and Foden's development, which is another English player, of course we need to look at that. Another one, Grealish, is sitting on the sidelines as well, and Sterling has been ahead of him. I do feel that he is of a very high level. I don't think he's a natural goal scorer, but he's improved massively in front of goal, and now I trust him in those areas. So he is someone, Simon, that is going to be highly sought after. There's going to be a lot of clubs across Europe who want to take him.
Who does? I mean, if you look
at talk of Chelsea this morning.
Well, my question is, if he's not good enough for Man City, why does the answer then manifest itself that he'll be good enough for Chelsea, who are trying to take Man City's position? Now, of course, horses for courses, and styles make fights, and different players will play for different managers in different ways.
He is good enough for Man City, though, isn't he?
Well, not good enough in terms of being able to play.
Just right now, he isn't. But if you look at last season, he played in the Champions League final.
No, it's been 3 years he's been struggling with Pep. And there were times the season before last where he was really not playing, and the narrative being spun up in the media. There's a real issue between him and Guardiola because he doesn't pick him. And then he got in the England team, and there was a big argument with people saying, well, hang on, he can't play for his club. How's he getting in the national side? And that then they were attacking Southgate because of his patronage rather than picking people on form.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I really think that there is a difference between...
But he ultimately played in the Champions League final. When it really came to it, he picked him in the Champions League final. And you judge a manager whether he loves you or not when it comes to the really big games, and he couldn't be any bigger than that. Okay, it went wrong.
You're talking about the Champions League final that they completely picked aside to overrun Chelsea and got unwound on.
Yeah, but no one expected that. I suppose you could say no one expected Sterling to play, but nonetheless he did play. So it's one of those, I feel, yes, Pep maybe is the deciding factor in all of this, but the player, I do think he's on a career path. He's a young man. I think he started at Watford. He went to Liverpool. He left Liverpool when you might have thought, okay, is that the right call? He's been incredibly successful at Man City. He's won everything really he could do except for the Champions League. Yeah. He may feel he wants another challenge, but I don't think we should be saying he's an ordinary player. I do think he's of an incredibly high level.
No, I didn't say that. I said clearly he's a very good player. Otherwise, he wouldn't be at Man City playing for his country. What I said was I don't think he's a world-class player. And Trevor makes a case that he's a world-class player, undoubtable, undeniable. He's a world-class player. And if you think that, that's fine. I don't happen to think that.
So what is he, Simon? Underappreciated or overhyped?
A bit of both. A bit of both. Clearly, he's underappreciated at Man City because if there'll be a bunch of suitors that think that he's going to be a first-team starter, he wants to play more games. He doesn't want to be a bit-part player. And clearly, Guardiola, over the years, if you look at the amount of performances he's played for Man City against the ones that he's available to play in, there is a missing amount of games that you would have thought that that Sterling would have wanted to be featured in, and he hasn't earned that right. Guardiola gives people the right to earn their opportunity and then keep their opportunity.
It's an interesting one if you were to ask Gareth Southgate, which club does he want him to remain at? Does he want him to leave, or does he want him to stay at City where he's a little bit more protected and then he's going to be better when he comes to play for England? Because you do feel he's a player with lots of energy. The same with Grealish. Is another player who was outstanding the other night, and they're at a high level. This is a very tough school, Man City, to get into that group to play every week.
But with Qatar now on the horizon, he's going to have to play.
Yeah, that's what it's about. That's the healthy thing.
Playing.
The healthy thing he wants to play. He probably will get games under Pep, but he doesn't feel as if he's really loved by the manager and appreciated enough. And I think that's the crux of the matter. The player feels there's a feeling he wants to leave.
But there's a team. This is a team that we look at and say, despite the fact they didn't dominate, they dominated the Premier League, or they won the Premier League by a point, but dominated it themselves and Liverpool. So they're an elite side, and he doesn't make the grade enough in that side. So England, as a national side, are second in talent and quality to Manchester City. Southgate is not in the same postal code as talent as Pep Guardiola. So I'm more interested in seeing how he performs for Pep Guardiola than he is for his country. And I do believe when it comes to the big end, the big games, where's Sterling? The big games. When we're playing against opposition, that's top draw opposition, not middle ranking international opposition, the top guys.
He hasn't played him. He hasn't played because Foden has really occupied that left hand side.
He played for the champion. He played in the Euros final against Italy. Make an impression.
Well, he was England's best players.
But I wouldn't argue that was his fault. I think
goals-wise,
I would argue that wasn't his fault in that game, because it was a game where we set up probably incorrectly. A game where we scored. We didn't really enjoy the shape that we had. We weren't really in the match. We were 1-0 up though, and I understood why the manager kept those tactics and remained the same.
In the first 15 minutes, we ripped a new one.
We were struggling and suffering, and I don't think Sterling really. You could point the finger at him and say.
But in the first 15 minutes, is it fair to say? And I will bow to your tactical knowledge far more than mine, right? But in the first 15 minutes, we ripped Italy a new one, and then they changed. They were wide open, Italy, and we could have been 3-0 up and should have been at least 2 up. And then Italy changed, and we didn't go with it.
Which is true, Mark.
The goal we scored was from their own. Was from a corner from them. We kicked the ball out.
But that's irrelevant.
No, it's the only time they came out, and we then punished them and scored.
In the first 15 minutes, did we watch the same game? In the first 15 minutes,
I've watched it back. I've watched it back.
They were all over the place, Italy.
No, not really. No, I think they dominated throughout, but we were 1-0 up, and I understood why they kept that system together.
Do you recall it that way, Jim?
No, I'm with you on that, Simon. I must be honest. Is Sterling on the move, do you think?
It seems as if we're now coming to that period when big decisions need to be made. If he's not going to sign a contract, and you talk about money, and he's got 1 year left, something's going to have to give.
They don't want him, do they?
Well, I think they want to keep him. Maybe they can afford to see out his contract.
Capacity, or we know they can afford it. In the capacity, it's upon Raheem Sterling. It's upon no one else. It's not Pep Guardiola's fault. It's nobody else's fault. If Raheem Sterling plays 23 games out of 38 available games and doesn't get picked, arguably for the big games,
with Haaland coming in now, obviously Jesus and Sterling, there could be a victim in there, Jim, and somebody will have to go because the numbers.
But why Raheem Sterling then? If he's top of the tree in your view, the best player around, and has to be looked at in a certain way, why him then?
That's the topic we're talking about. He's not actually signing a contract. So therefore, that leads, doesn't it, to that speculation that he could be on his way out.
Are Man City breaking the bank to offer him a new contract?
Well, I'm not privy to those talks. I mean, every player will be remunerated in a really big way at City, so I assume that's being taken care of.
He gets a free transfer. Or a deflated one because he's one on the last year's contract.
I think you look at the numbers, as you said, 23 starts from 38 games. He wants more football. And
does he get that elsewhere in this World Cup?
He probably does, but then he's got to look at success. He wants to win trophies.
Chelsea being mentioned. Real Madrid being spoken about. Barcelona being spoken about.
Yeah. I mean,
because he's a top level player.
But they're a step down from Man City, aren't they?
In your opinion?
So
Real Madrid are European champions right now.
We talked about Barcelona. Didn't mention Real Madrid. Barcelona and Chelsea. Chelsea disappointing this season. Barcelona disappointing this season. Man City win their league. So let's do it again. It's a step down.
Yeah, but Chelsea, not so long ago, that's not really a step down going to Chelsea. I think that actually is a really exciting
25
project.
points behind Man City.
Yeah, of course, I know that over the last 3 years, but I still feel they've won the Champions League in that time, Simon. So it's not like they're just like
You're determined to
completely...
ruin Martin's wedding anniversary.
Not at all. No. But I'm trying to understand why Chelsea that finished
Do
third.
you not feel that Sterling might be a good fit for him? He's a London-based boy, isn't he? I think he was born near Wembley, not far from here. Maybe he feels he wants to come back.
Thomas Tuchel thinks it's a good fit. I imagine it's in the same sort of category of the Thomas Tuchel decision to bring Romelu Lukaku. It could be a good fit. It could be a bad fit. Depends what Sterling does, and depends what he adds to the side. And depends how they want to play.
Fair point.
Lukaku's been a massive disappointment. That can happen as well.
Absolutely.
Can't it? And Tuchel will feel let down by Lukaku, particularly the way he was speaking in the press last year about not being happy the way he was.
Raheem will be delighted. We've spoken about him for so long. That's for sure.
Well, he's got
airtime.
I'm expecting him to play against Italy because, as you say, he hasn't played as many games as possible.
He's a
good player for Gareth Southgate to use this weekend.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.